In this episode of Cloud TV, we're going to have a look at how cloud impacts the role of the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Digital Officer. We have today with us Dana Teahanın, who is the founder and CEO of digital startup By Zero. Dana, welcome to Cloud TV.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Dana, your background includes a stint as Chief Information Officer and Chief Digital Officer at the Australian Institute of Management. Prior to that, you were Chief Digital Officer at Virgin Money Australia, and prior to that, e-commerce manager at NRMA의. So you've got an extensive background in a mix of things, particularly with regards to running technology and running the digital part of technology. So can you give us a feel for how cloud can help a CMO and a CDO be more successful in their roles?
I guess my role previously, a lot of my experience in the digital space is the concept of cloud always existed there because you're delivering websites, web services, but it wasn't called cloud. And it's only recently that technology's caught up with where I guess digital web had been for many years. So I think the biggest impact probably for chief digital officers or CMOs is they now have back-end IT technology that they can access readily to help them deliver marketing aims, whatever it is that they're trying to do. So I think that's been a massive shift where technology hadn't really caught up for a long time, but now, especially with cloud offering so many different services, it's really starting to revolutionise the marketing side of things. Email marketing, marketing automation, all those kind of things which were often either in-house or not easily accessible. You know, if you look at the rise and explosion of email marketing, there's some great sophisticated cloud tools now that 5 years ago you didn't really have access to unless you were a really large organisation, and they were often on-premise, managed by IT teams who often didn't really understand what a CMO or marketing were trying to achieve, and often the digital teams didn't really get much input from a technology perspective, but that's changed now, seeing as you can run up technology so rapidly with cloud. What's been interesting is a lot of marketing departments have rushed out and picked up technology because they can. You know, at the smaller end of the market, you can put something on your credit card and have a service up and running. And at the bigger end of the market, often because marketing control budgets, they could go out and find a vendor and provide capability, circumventing technology teams or IT teams. But the interesting thing has been that being able to do that also has its risks in technology teams that spend a lot of time learning how to properly implement services, whether they happened internally or happened externally. So I think some of the interesting things is marketing teams have got this capability, but may not necessarily be leveraging it properly or have implemented it properly, or even thought through all the risks associated with picking some of this technology up. Where does data reside? What is your DR around all this important information that you're collecting about your customers or marketing to? So it's been very interesting that I think there's a very rapid push by marketeers to grab services, but I think a lot are starting to realise it's not just as easy as signing up for a service online. You know, there's some other considerations. But certainly I've seen technology teams and marketing teams work much more closely together. Certainly in my roles, that's been the case, has been most successful. I think one of the interesting things is traditional marketing, if you look at it, was about generating demand. You'd advertise, you'd do whatever you did, and you hope people come and bought your services effectively. But given where technology is going and the experience the end consumer is expecting, just having a tool there and not interfacing it with the rest of what the business is trying to do is quite dangerous, because you get a bit of a disjointed experience, or you're not harnessing the power of all the infrastructure that you've got there. So I think they are coming together because they're realising there's no point having the world's best marketing automation tool if it doesn't interface with your CRM. And vice versa, marketeers can't get the best value if they don't have good systems backing what they're trying to do. There's been an also shift with CIOs to work better at providing technology that's enhancing the business rather than just saying being a cost centre. And so part of that enhancement is you need to deliver services that are going to support everyone, and marketing is no different to supporting finance or operations or whatever. So certainly, yeah, from a CIO perspective, trying to understand how best to implement technology that supports marketing is definitely happening. That's definitely a shift that's occurring. I don't think the education piece is happening at universities, simply because universities are quite slow to adapt to what's going on in the outside world effectively. But I think the the education around how to implement technology correctly, all those things, they hold as much for marketing as they do for internal technology. So certainly the skills that a lot of CIOs have had work, they're transferable. I think CIOs are understanding a bit more about how some of these other technologies can benefit them as well and make them look good. If you put the right thing in and your marketing performs really well, then everyone kind of benefits. But certainly the education piece is still missing, and a lot of it I think is learning on the job. A lot of CIOs are learning as they go because these things are also rapidly emerging. CIOs need to understand, especially for marketing, the unique needs that marketing has, and the unique technology deployment that they need. And that's something that they can only learn by working really closely with the marketing team, the digital team, whoever happens to be. I think historically CIOs have been very inward facing, which is how do I deliver technology internal to the business, whereas if they need to be a bit more outwardly focused, looking at what consumers want. And understanding at the end of the day, marketing is about getting to the end consumer, whether it's consumer business to business or whatever it happens to be. And so by spending some time understanding that environment and that dynamic, they'll get up to speed.
So Dana, you've used cloud extensively before. In fact, in your previous role as CIO at Australian Institute of Management, you migrated a lot of the applications out to the cloud. Could you give us a little bit of an overview of that?
So as the CIO of AIM, I effectively help them transition all their major applications, so their CRM, their finance system, their student management system, because we're an education provider. We also even implemented a marketing automation tool. So we basically shifted everything to public cloud, and we also moved our physical infrastructure to cloud technologies, hosted infrastructure. The other thing we did, which was quite unique at the time, it's fairly early on a few years ago, was we migrated to Office 365, and so the whole organisation, email, everything went out to the cloud as well, which I think was a big shift for people internally to think, critical thing like email, which you used to hold on to, why would you do that? Why would you not go out and leverage someone who's better at doing it? So that was pretty much the whole setup is out in the cloud. So if you said to a board, as we stood at the time, when I arrived as CIO, we had physical infrastructure in a room in a building that could get stolen, hacked. We were not as good as doing security as these cloud providers. We weren't good at doing DR. All these things that offset the concerns around privacy. That was the argument they kind of understood and said, well, Microsoft or Google or whoever's far better at securing our data than we could ever do it. So that became a pretty easy roadblock to overcome when you explained it that way. And certainly, I know there are security concerns and things have happened in the marketplace, but the reality is the kind of data that we had, it was of no real interest to anyone. It would be something that if it was stolen, we're not talking medical records, we're not talking things of highly sensitive nature, that the benefit was far outweighed any of the risks.
Dana, you left AIM and moved to start up your own business, By Zero. Could you tell us a little bit about what you specialise in?
As the founder of By Zero, we started a business up which was really about helping businesses leverage all these great tools, cloud tools, to help deliver their brand. So what a lot of businesses do is spend a lot of time building a brand and a presence, which is often the outward-facing experience that a consumer might get. But they then never back end that with the internal technology or the experience that a consumer would expect once they've connected with that brand. So our business is really about helping organisations not just think about the front end, but also how does that whole brand experience flow through what technology you choose and deploy. So that's where and the same methodology that I used when I was CIO at AIM, which was, there's great, we have a great website, or great, we have great branding or marketing, but when we land a customer, are they getting that same experience through the whole process of engaging with us? We've done some consulting with the Institute of Chartered Accountants, who are now chartered accountants. They're migrating a lot of their applications to public cloud and understood about delivering services to their members and how cloud would help them deliver much better services. And then I deal with lots smaller clients. I actually work with a cloud document provider in the finance industry. And so for them, they've built a cloud technology, but they also need to market and deliver that cloud technology in a way that befits being a cloud provider. And we're also working a lot with not-for-profits because they have the most to benefit at the moment from employing cloud technologies. Certainly at the pricing, a lot of the big boys like Microsoft are providing it. It's a bit of a no-brainer.
Dana, how do you see the future of cloud in Australia?
Well, I think certainly the experience that I've had, even with my own bank, is that they're providing a better experience to customers. You know, staff at the other end know who you are. They've got a better view of the marketing they've done to you. You know, so there's certainly there's a more intimate feel from a customer experience, which I think is the kind of innovation banks are looking for, being the necessary evil that they are. If you can have a great experience with them, and you, I guess, being in technology, you know, technology is helping deliver that. In terms of other innovation, I don't think we've seen a total disruption of the banking market in Australia yet, but you're starting to see that in the US with some of the newer providers that are coming out that are running very lean, that are using this technology. They don't have legacy systems, so it's only a matter of time that happens in Australia, I think. The retail space, so some of the new providers coming in, you know, ASOS, things like that, they're really leveraging these technologies well, certainly in a way that's disrupting, you know, the standard retail sector. I think those are probably the two areas that innovation's happening. I think general financial services are still lagging behind. So yeah, those are probably the two that I'm seeing. Plus small business. I think small business of all types are doing some amazing stuff with cloud technology because they're agile, they can adapt to it, they can run it up really quickly. So I think we're seeing a lot of innovation in the small business industry deploying cloud. I think cloud will become a bit of a double-edged sword looking into the future. So there's a few areas. One is, yes, it provides great levels of capability, but we're also sending that IP, you know, money, investment offshore. There's not a lot of cloud stuff happening in Australia, which is retained in Australia. So, I mean, there's some great, Xero is a great example of a local provider that's doing amazing things, delivering a cloud application. So it is happening, but not as much as I think it should. You know, we've got some great talent in Australia and we should really be investing in our own applications and services. The other thing that I think will be interesting is how do cloud providers, interoperability between cloud providers, which really isn't there yet. So one of the great things about especially software as a service is you can run up these very specialised systems that can do a great particular niche service, but they're not talking yet to other cloud applications, or if they are, it's very expensive to get them to talk. So unless that's addressed going forward, I think what we'll see happen is you'll see so many features thrown into cloud applications, you know, especially software as a service, that it'll start to devalue the benefit that these cloud providers you know, had. That's probably more at the upper end of the market where people have had cloud running for a number of years. For other businesses, just de-risking their IT environment, providing better capabilities, that's where I think you'll see in the next kind of 3 to 5 years, everyone will benefit by having a much better experience with an organisation that's rolled these services out. The Internet of Things, certainly the integration between your online life, your offline life, not just mobility, but you know, your home, how it connects with services. Energy will be another one I think will be an amazing transformation, which is, can we get devices that are energy smart, that are monitoring what you're doing, and also then interfacing back to the energy company and things like that. So those are some of the exciting areas I think in the next few years that you'll see big gains. I think mobility has, it's there, it's natural in our lives now. Everyone has a mobile phone, everyone's accessing the key services that they need. So I don't think the mobility gains will be as great, but certainly things like you talk about robotics. Data is another interesting one. I think it will take cloud a while to get easy enough tools in a CMO, CDO, even CIO's hands that allow them to leverage the data that they've got. So, you know, the past few years have been about providing the infrastructure, but it's really about providing the tools on top that hopefully we see that in the next kind of 3 or 5 years. Certainly that's where it needs to go.
Well, that was very interesting insights, Dana, about the potential impact of cloud on the sales and marketing functions. And coming from someone who's been in the thick of this stuff for quite a few years, I think it's particularly valuable. Thank you very much indeed for coming on ZDNet Cloud TV today.
Thank you.